Happy Sunday, everyone, and also happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I wanted to make this video because all day today I've been feeling just dreadful, felt a lot of grief, and a lot of sorrow. And I felt the Holy Spirit amidst all that tell me, you can't just think that way, especially about your mother. For those of you who may not know, back in November of 2024, my mom made the very tragic decision to take her own life. And ever since then, I've felt a level of grief, sorrow, and dread, as I stated, that is immeasurable. And despite that, there are moments where my mother really came through. And in this video, to fight off the dread and sorrow that I'm feeling and the grief, I'm going to share that moment. I think I've shared it before, but I'm going to do it again. And just to preface this, I know that a lot of you are going to, specifically those who see it as a political thing rather than just a family story, are going to probably unfollow me, stop being friends with me, and that's okay. You're welcome to stay. I'll still treat you respectfully, but I know a lot of you are not going to like this story. So that being said, let's get into it. As flawed as my mother was, a moment that she really came through to ensure that I had a chance at life is one of my favorite stories. And I will always tell people she's a hero simply because of that, despite every bad thing she ever did, including walking out on me and my dad when I was little. When my mom was pregnant with me, this is coming after she and my dad had already experienced 2 miscarriages. And they had given up on the idea of having a family at that point because they thought there was no way they were going to have a successful pregnancy. My mom felt the Holy Spirit tug on her heart, telling her, you got to try one more time. And here I am. Now, in the midst of that, during her pregnancy, she went in for a follow-up appointment, and her doctor, who ironically had the name Dr. Sweet, and the reason I say that's ironic is because he was not sweet. I would say he was even far from sour. I mean, he was a very disgusting human being. I never met the guy, but based on what everyone, my parents, and anyone else who knew of him has told me about him, he was just a disgusting human being. Dr. Sweet came into my parents at that follow-up appointment after running some tests. And in the most vile and guilt-tripping and manipulative way possible, he basically implied to my parents that if they did not terminate me in the womb, they were doing something morally morbid. Because based on what the tests were showing, I was going to be born with very severe birth defects, or a learning disability worse than the one I have that would severely lessen my quality of life. And my mother was likely going to come out of birth, having given birth to me, with horrid side effects as well that would lessen her quality of life. Needless to say, neither of those turned out to be true. But going back to the point, Dr. Sweet would not stop hammering on my parents, specifically my mother, to terminate the pregnancy. And every time my mom would say, we don't care if he has a learning disability, we don't care about this, we don't care about that, he would constantly come back with, well, then you're being a horrible person right now. You're really going to do that to your child? You're really going to do that to yourself? Then he'd turn to my dad and go, you're really going to let your wife do this to herself and your child? That's how little he thought of me. He wanted me dead. Let me tell you what my mother did. After all that squalling, my mother stood up from that chair, literally spat in Dr. Sweet's face, took my dad by the hand, and the 2 of them walked out of there. And you know what happened as a result of that? This. A life that I have been blessed with, full of blessings, full of joy, full of love. All because my mother had it in her to know killing me in the womb wasn't the right choice. I'll never be able to thank her enough for that. Despite everything else she did wrong over the course of my life, I'll never be able to thank my mother enough for fighting the people in that doctor's office that wanted to murder me in the womb. Now again, sounds really political, but it isn't. Had my mom not done that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have the life I have. I wouldn't have my beautiful wife. I wouldn't have our beautiful dog. I wouldn't have my incredible job. I wouldn't have a bunch of hobbies that God gifted me with that bring me so much joy. I wouldn't have the family I have. All because these doctors saw things on those tests that were, by the way, very inconclusive. They were acting like they were very conclusive, and they weren't. I mean, he's going to be born with very severe birth defects and a disability like Down syndrome. I had no birth defects, and I have Asperger's syndrome, which, in all honesty, has only made my life better compared to a typical person. And you're going to have so many horrible birth effects happen to you after you give birth to him. My mom never had one horrible birth effect. She didn't even have a minuscule one happen to her. Oh, but doctors can be wrong. No, these doctors wanted to have it their way. I'm sorry. If you're going to base something off of inconclusive tests, rather than do more tests to verify and make it conclusive, why should anyone listen to you? That's why my mother was a hero. She didn't listen to insanity. She didn't listen to people who wanted to kill her only child in the womb. So, Mom, I know you're up there being celebrated ever more so than you were here. And to you, I say, Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for loving me enough to bring me into this world, no matter how hard it was. And despite everything you did wrong, thank you for the moments where you came through, like that one. I love you, Mom. I miss you, and I know I'll see you again one day. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for you contributing to my life, even if it was very little. God bless everyone, and to all of you strong-willed mothers like mine was at that time, thank you for being that way.